Hi, I'm Chris, and this is our group problem solving presentation.
I'm Juliana.
I'm Mike.
I'm Jackson.
Um, so for our problem, we've chose online asynchronous group presentations and group assignments because this is one of our biggest issues that we've had all semester. A lot of our problems have been like different prioritizations of different classes, social loafing, and time zone issues. I mean, mostly me. Well, the time zone issue has mostly been me because I live in Texas and I'm a year behind. I'm an hour behind everybody else in Pennsylvania. I think it's all safe to agree that we've had social loafing issues with Lawrence, and he's not here today for that same reason. He's probably playing Dragon Ball Z. But you guys want to talk about your issues with online?
One of my main issues is that it's kind of a bigger workload to handle when you got other classes, especially when you got like consider the difficulty of your other classes. Like for example, I take computer science and I have to do my revisions for my projects and they usually take a while. And I got like 6 revisions to do for 6 of my projects. So, and when you got to worry about other classes and especially asynchronous classes, it's kind of difficult because you have to, it's like when you have an asynchronous class, you tend to not prioritize it. So it kind of like you get behind on the asynchronous class as well.
I really understand that because one of the bigger problem, I see where that can be a problem on your end is because all of us have lives. I'm pretty sure we all have jobs or something, right? Too. We all work.
Yeah.
On top of these classes, it's hard to kind of find a time where all 4 of us can meet up. Hard to get a hold of all of us at once in order to record, so it makes things very difficult to come up with some kind of group presentation where we're all present at once. For the most part, for the last group assignments that we've had, it's just mostly been us just recording our own parts and we'll go on our own time and we'll like do our own parts and then we'll record our own parts and then we'll compile them into one big actual file that we can submit as a presentation. You got any thoughts, Juliana?
Pretty much what you two both said. I will mention that though you mentioned for our specific group time zone differences, like you're an hour behind, but like consider people who might live like across the world or like across the country, like they're still allowed to take these courses. So the idea that they'd all be able to get into a group at a specific time to do.
And what happens if they're like countries away and they're like 4 hours behind or something ridiculous? Like their nighttime, like their 1 a.m. is our like 2 p.m. So how are we gonna do something like that?
Right.
All right, so for the textbook, our textbook application, we use the ProMod technique, which is, essentially this is what we've been using all semester. It's where we essentially we all go our separate ways to analyze the situation in our own perspective and then start working on our own and brainstorming by ourselves. And then in the end, we come back together as a group to put all of our thoughts together and decide what we're actually doing. The textbook definition of the ProMod is the essence of the ProMod technique is to alternate individual analysis of the problem issue that the group is sharing information from. We chose this. We also find this a really good example because it's something that we've already used prior for our class as a whole. You guys agree that we've gone our own ways. We've done a lot of our work on our own, and then we compile it together after talking about it. That makes sense?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So the application that we used to this is how we used, I can't speak. So the application to do this problem solving, we found that our common ground since we began by searching for problems, right? We all came to the conclusion that a common problem that we all have is just asynchronous classes and issues with online groups. That was our most common ground. we use Discord, which is our main platform of communication to talk to each other on how we're going to do this assignment. After we used that, we came to that our problems were scheduling times to meet up and record and do our own thing, social loafing, and then time zone was mostly my issue. And then we all went our separate ways to brainstorm this project, and we came back and we made a presentation on it. You guys got any thoughts?
Yeah, I think Discord is a good way to get the group together. And
I think it is too, because it's easy to like get each other's attention. My favorite thing about it is just how you can like do the @ symbol and then somebody's username and it pings their phone, so
Yeah.
they get a notification every time you send a message directly to them. And for the most part, it's been a really easy way to get everybody's attention except for Lawrence. So
us have been responding really fast to Discord lately.
yeah.
All right, so I'm going to expand on what Juliana was saying as to where she was speaking about more of the scheduling and time problems of asynchronous class. I'm going to be talking more about social loafing, which is something we actually deal with a lot. Social loafing tends to be where, you know, a group mate or a team member just tends to not participate. So it'll be, instead of being more like 100% team effort, it'll be more like a 75% team effort, to where it should be 5 of us working together. Is 5 of us. So we were thinking of some ways to solve this problem. For example, like, even though unfortunately it'll have to come to this, we'll think that it'll be better off if, instead of the team losing points as a whole, that person just has to sacrifice their points. Because
just like the way that this presentation is being made right now, because
yeah,
in the rubric it explains how if you don't participate, then you're forfeit your points.
Yeah,
I think that was a really good way to go.
yeah, I feel like if when it comes to asynchronous classes, I feel like that should be implemented more, especially for group projects in general, and asynchronous classes. That it really tends to be a big problem, to where it's just a group member or two that just responds late to an announcement from a group, or it just tends to be a problem, to where it's just someone lacking, not giving they're just not putting in work in general. And like, sadly, that's just something we have to deal with personally. So that was our solution to that. It's just, sadly, they just have to sacrifice their points for the project.
And I think, for like, just to note, like, I think we've all experienced that in this group, because I mean, a member doesn't put in any effort at all to communicate with us at all, even
Yeah.
when we try to reach out to them. So it's kind of sad, but that's the reality of it.
Yeah, and I feel as if I don't feel as if it should be like, oh yes, if they're just not responding to it, just immediately like throw them out the group. Just don't give them.
Yeah, no, we've made millions of attempts to contact Lawrence, and he either ignores us or he puts it off till the last minute, and then at the very end it's like, oh, I've got technology problems, and it's like something makes you wonder if he really does have problems or not, because his profile just says that he's playing Xbox all day. So
yeah,
I don't know what to take of that.
I will say, I think social loafing is an inevitability in most online classes. But the way, so our ideas were like stricter punishments, or just having that person removed from the group. But I like the idea of stricter punishments. So maybe they don't get removed from the group entirely, but if proof can be provided, there would be like a grade deduction depending on what information was provided. But it's not just our group, and like not just one person. I feel like we've been harping a little bit on one person, but it is an inevitability.
We kind of are, but I mean, it's at this point, I think we're all fed up with the fact that, I mean, it's basically just a 4-person group. I mean, It hasn't been a 5-person group this entire semester, except for the beginning project. So it's just been the 4 of us, really. So
anybody else? No. All right. So
Alright.
now I guess I think we should discuss about where we rank our problems at, like which one we should think should be considered to be solved first. Like for example, do we think we should self-loathing should be solved first or should be looked at first, or like time or scheduling issues.
I think personally with me, time hasn't really been much of an issue for me because it's like I know my schedule and it's easy to put out there because it's like I work from 6 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon, which is 7 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon for you guys. So it's just I can say, hey guys, look, I'm not free to do anything from 7 a.m. till 4 p.m. for you guys. And if we're gonna do anything, let's just plan it after 5. That's easy for me to do, and it's really hasn't been too big of an issue for me. What I would say is that prioritization, that is a pretty big issue. I mean, the fact that there's no way. I don't really think that there's much of a way to combat that issue because we all have lives and we've all got different classes. We're all taking multiple. This isn't the only class that we're taking, so we can't all drop what we're doing
Right.
to work on everything at the same time. So I think that situations like this where we have to all meet up or we're required to all meet up and have a 20-minute long group discussion, that's pretty difficult. So it's like that problem, I guess that should be number 1 on the list. You guys agree?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Maybe number 2 would just be, I don't think there's really a way to change a class's workload. You can't just say, hey, I've got this online class that requires me to meet up with my group. I feel like you should be able to work around that. So I don't know. I think our main issue is just the fact that that our group timing,
Yeah.
our group planning is what I should say.
Well, the thing is, like the planning part, I think is fairly easy in that you could each be like, hey, listen, this is my schedule. But then finding like ways that those schedules fit together is the hardest part because like when I was in season for rugby, I had practice every day, like 5 to 7, and then sometimes I'd have a meeting at 7:30 to 9, and it might be the only day that you're available after 4. And I think those are the issues that arise that like, yeah, sure, the scheduling's easy to put it out there, but then fitting those together is the hardest part.
Yeah, I get that. It's like there's so many different moving variables that you got to take into account when planning for one specific little event like this. You got to take everybody's job schedules, everybody's like course load and everything. So, all right, in order to not go over this 20-minute mark, we should probably move over to the next segment. So, I think, is it your turn, Jackson?
Yeah, it's my turn.
All right. So, Mike, you're going to want to stop screen recording.
Alright.
Screen sharing. All right. And then change.
I just did.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Just click slideshow.
All right. So for collaborative group integration, we have another group call to discuss our final decisions, and we came to the conclusion that scheduling issues was a bit of a asynchronous thing. Like classes are more like asynchronous classes are more forgotten about than normal classes that we each have that have time slots that we have to adjust to. And asynchronous classes can meet, you have to agree on a time and everyone in the group has to meet at that time. So
I
the
think it's
solution,
mostly just it's the ability to hold ourselves accountable to what we say that we're going to do. Because it's about integrity on how to if you say, hey, I'm going to be here for this, you got to be in the place that you say you're going to be at the time that you say you're going to be. And if not, then everything falls apart. you know?
Mhm.
So
As a group, I think that the time management issue is really not that big of a deal. Like, Juliana and Chris said, that it comes down to prioritizing. It's just more like social loafing that's kind of like inevitable, like Juliana said once again. Like, you can't really stop someone from just being lazy or just not showing up to a group call.
I mean, yeah. I mean, personally, I'm a really big procrastinator and I don't like to start things until like the last minute.
Mhm.
And eventually you got to realize, hey, if I don't do this, then either my group is screwed because of me, or I'm not going to get a good grade and that's going to affect if I pass this class or not, So,
It's hard
and
because you can't know like, or you can't change who somebody is as a person, and the level of accountability that they feel to other members of their group is like part of that. And I think that's the hardest part, that it's like we each have different like priorities and beliefs and stuff. And part of that is the accountability that you feel to others. And some people I feel like just don't have as high a level of that. And I feel like they should. But it's also like, who am I to judge?
for most
Um,
people, college is the beginning of where where you get your like sense of self accountability,
mhm,
I mean, for some people it's their first jobs, and then other people it's school, and then a lot of people it's college. So, I mean, that does make sense.
Right.
All right, let's get on to the last slide.
The solution for that problem was to make it a actual class instead of an asynchronous class. Use that. So textbook reminds us that not everyone comes from the same background. So while every may crave an environment that is more individual, people from different backgrounds may prefer the idea of work that is more collective and collaborative. And ultimately, we do not think our solutions to these problems would cause a group to experience cultural barriers, but it is a good practice to continue to be mindful and ask questions to understand others' perspectives.
I think that wraps it up.
And then this is
Then
the
you
word.
got our work slided. Awesome. I think that's it.
All right, good job,
Hey.
everyone.
good job, guys.
Good
Word.
job.